Let's begin in Abuja, where the 9 years long trial of Nnamdi Kanu has taken a new turn. Now, the federal government officially closed the case yesterday in the trial of the IPOB leader. After presenting 5 witnesses, the prosecution told the court that it has enough evidence, including Kanu's broadcast, to back up its terrorism and treason charges. Kanu's lawyer, however, responded by saying the defense will file a no-case submission, which basically means they believe the prosecution hasn't proven anything worth continuing the trial. Now, the court will now wait for the defense's next move. Let's see some of the reactions, and then we'll come back to the studio and just to analyze some of these trending stories on social media. Solomon says the Nigerian government should compensate this man for detaining him for this long. I think this is the longest detainment in history. I don't know, but maybe it should be in the book. I want to say the book of records, book of life. I mean, Guinness World Record book. Ikpeazu says, since 2014, I've never seen one Boko Haram member, not commander, I mean just member, stand on any trial in a Nigerian court. Wow. But then we have a man who has stayed this long in the Nigerian court. More reactions on social media. Meskan says, closing of case doesn't mean withdrawal. It simply means there will be no more charges. Now, Kanu's lawyers will start defending him, and the judge will have to give his verdict. Izuchu says, release Nnamdi Kanu. He doesn't deserve this treatment from federal government, considering the fact that the same federal government holding him on allegations of terrorism is freeing captured terrorists after tagging them repentant. Those are some of the reactions on social media. Ikena says there was never a case against him from the onset. The Nigerian government has been exhibiting reckless criminality all along. Well, wow. That's what we're seeing on social media this morning. Nnamdi Kanu, finally, the case is closed. Longest detainment ever. I don't know if like officially, but I mean it was a long time, and finally the case has been closed. Freedom for him.
Well, like they said, or rather like the other message they said on X, the case has been closed, but will it be forgotten? That's just one part. Another part, and it is not, like again, like I always say, it's not me making a case for any part, whether the government or Nnamdi Kanu. Again, we stay on the fence. That's how we are all trained. And so to be on the fence, let us view it from both sides of the fence, because we have a clear bird-eye view, right? So after detaining this guy for this long, there must be lesson learned. Because if we are not looking at lesson learned, we will end up having these kind of issues again. Remember, there are some people who have been termed, enemy of the state, and they have not been brought to book. So if they were charging him at the time, all that charges, terrorism or whatever it is, treason and everything, look, balance it now and say, since we kept him this long and it has actually bagged this amount of years, those who have not, and this is for the interest of the country, those who have not brought to book, are we going to start looking at them to bring them also to create a balance? I mean, the government is for the people, by the people, and of the people. And so you want a case where things will, equity in, judicial dealings and judicial dispensation will flow. Now, having said so, let us go to like the other message, the other X, message said. They said, look, what about some other bandits and people who are termed Boko Haram leaders and commanders? You just come and do what? You capture them and then you term them as repentant. Shouldn't there be some level of legal proceedings to bring them to book, to really find out, let the public find out how do they think? Because you see, that's lesson learned. Once you know how someone who you have incarcerated or someone who you have accused of something, how he or she processes ideas, you can use that to educate your cadets, create a course out of it. A course that will enable any smart, intelligent officer in the military, the army, or the police, right? Use such courses, as the case may be, and as it's called, a course. In other words, to jump course. Use that course as a learning process. So that way, when it happens again, they know how to mitigate, how to either stop, prevent, or if it has happened and they can't stop it, know how to go around it instead of wasting government resources. You know how much has been wasted? I'm sure they were feeding him there. Yes, even though who don't know, maybe they won't feed himself, but whichever it is, the amount of energy we poured into that case. And let's not forget the amount of money that has been lost from businesses because of the Monday sit-at-home thing. Around those eastern states already, Anambra State, and some other states, billions. And so at some point we knew that this is just a key political thing.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm hoping that. Sorry to just cut you short. I'm hoping that right now, I mean, since you mentioned the Monday sit-at-home, I'm hoping that we can return back to status quo.
Well, do you know how many people that has favored? How many people have become billionaires because of that?
So what's going to happen now? Are we returning back to status quo? Because the reason why they were sitting at home wasn't in solidarity
of him.
So now the case is closed. Are we going back to business as usual?
I will tell you again, it is just speculation, right? But from the looks of things, those who, like I said, those who it has favored, they'll be quick enough to look for something else to say, no, okay, until they pay him damages, we're not going to call up that thing. This thing works in different ways. I'm sure he's not just going to sit down. He's probably going to sue the federal government and say, look, while I was there, you guys did this to me. You guys, restricted my movement. It goes back and forth. He knows his right. He's a very educated man. Again, I'm not making a case for him. I'm just saying, as a Nigerian with a Nigerian passport, right? Someone who has an NIN. These are the things that qualifies you, as a Nigerian and all that stuff. And of course, he's someone who is well known. A lot of interests are there. He might not even need the money that he wants to sue, if at all he's going to sue, or maybe he hasn't done that already. But the fact that he won a case where, look, somebody will have to go down for all that problems that he faced. But we don't even know the kind of deal they signed with him. Look, we want to let you go, end this case, but don't sue anybody. We don't even know what's happening in the background. But again, lesson learned. Are we doing that? If we are not, why are we not doing it? If we have, why is it not being televised? If it's being televised, are you watching it? I mean, we are in the business of media. How come we're not playing such, lesson learned to say, okay, we as security personnel or we in the judiciary, we've learned that this, that. Let us have some publications that be out there on radio, on TV, that will, enthrone the fact that, give and take, this was a fair proceeding back and forth. Even at some point, his lawyers kept on saying, look, the best is not being put across. He had to snatch the paper. I'm sure you saw that video now.
I'm not sure I saw the
video. Yeah, he took from one of his lawyers and said, look, let them know how to interpret the law of this land and stuff like that. Anyways, let's not go far into it. I mean, we're not legal, legal officers, but because you are here to talk about the story, we'll ask you from this corner and say, look, if it has happened this way, what's the next move? You just asked, should we be seeing a lift off from that so-called sit-at-home thing? We hope and we pray. But again, are we going to see a balance of what it is so that those from the East will not begin to think, oh, so because he's from the East, you guys put so much energy. What about those that have perpetrated a lot of crime or, right, might have done one or two things? Are we going to see them also being brought to book too? What about those in the West? Different regions where we have people who have been termed as enemy of the state and all that stuff. So would we see a balance? That's one. Two, would the sit-at-home be removed? Questions for our viewers at home too.
I think it's also important to add that the fact that the case has been closed does not mean that it doesn't actually mean that it has been released. But it just means that the case has been closed for further additional charges in its ongoing prosecution. And it's actually now left to the court to give the verdict on this situation.
I mean, so he's still being, of course, he's still in detention per se. They haven't released him.
Right.
Like that's obviously what we know. And again, we don't know what's going on in the background. Okay? It's all, again, we're anticipating that what needs to be done is done. We can't take sides. But the public has to see that anything that is going on, we are transmitting as it is reported to say this is what's reported. We're not adding pepper or salt to it, you know.
And that's why we had to just add that, you know, fine, it's been on for, the case has been on for 9 years, and while, you know, right now they're not adding additional, you know, charges whatsoever based on the fact that the case has been closed, but the case is still pending.
Still pending. Oh, so that's what, pending.
Yes, it's still pending and waiting for pronouncement of the trial judge. So whatever the outcome of what the trial judge will say, and then that's what we'll be looking out for right now.